Just ahead on this edition of Being Well, Sarah Betts, Healthy Kids educator from Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System, is here to talk about nutrition and fitness for kids. Sarah will share ideas and advice on how to get children active and interested in making healthy food choices. We've got that and more next on Being Well, so don't go away. Production of Being Well is made possible in part by Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System, supporting healthy lifestyles, eating a heart-healthy diet, staying active, managing stress, and regular checkups are ways of reducing your health risks. Proper health is important to all at Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System. Information available at sarahbush.org. Additional funding by Jazzercise of Charleston. Welcome back to this edition of Being Well. Sarah Betts, Healthy Kids educator from Sarah Bush Lincoln, joins me today. Thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks for having me, Lori.
Well, we're talking about kids and fitness and healthy lifestyles, so we're going to get right started into the topic. Where are we at? We'll start nationally in terms of childhood obesity. Where are the rates at, and are they going down at all?
Sure. Well, we see that 1 in 3 kids now is considered overweight, obese. And so we've definitely seen an increase over the last 20 years, you know, in that number to where we're at today. We are, however, seeing some progress in more of the preschool age, 2 to 5 year olds. We are seeing a decrease, even in our area locally. A report from Head Start shows that we had a 10% decrease this year in their kids that attend their centers. So that's huge. You know, that's definitely what we want to see. And, you know, it seems to be attributed to everybody getting on board and everybody seeing that they need to serve nutritious foods. We need to make sure the kids are getting physically active. And then we've also seen a decrease in sugary drinks in that age group, in the 2 to 5 year olds. So that's really big progress.
So obesity, we've talked about nationally. Where is it here in Illinois? Are we above, below, or at the national average?
Well, we're in state-wise, we're ranked about the 24th most obese, state. So, definitely a lot of progress we need to see going on in our state as well. And we see that in our service area, the counties that we cover at Sarah Bush Lincoln, we have about 9,000 kids considered in that overweight or obese category.
Okay. So are there things that are linked to obesity in youth, certain factors that can tie the two together?
Sure, we've seen that. Of course, sugary drinks are a culprit. We've seen, milk and water decrease, soda consumption increase over the last few years, and that's definitely linked to, higher calorie intake, which, kids don't realize because they're not eating food, that they don't really realize that even drinking, high calorie drinks affects their body. We've seen a decrease in physical activity in kids. We want to see kids active about 60 minutes a day, and we're not seeing most kids be active every day for that 60 minutes. And then what we're eating, we're eating a lot of high sugar, high fat foods, processed foods, a lot less fresh fruits and vegetables, a lot less home-cooked meals, more eating out. So that's definitely a factor. A lot more screen time. We're seeing the national average now for kids over 56 hours. And those that are really talented with the, using 2 or 3 devices at a time, up to 72 hours a week. So that has definitely increased, along with the activity decreasing, definitely has caused some issue.
What about income level? Does that play a factor in obesity?
We have seen that. Poverty is linked to obesity. I think it's, lack of access to fresh fruits and vegetables. A lot of times, it's the myth that cheaper foods are more accessible for families, not as healthy, but it's all too about just training those parents to watch for healthy foods when they go on sale, stocking up on things when you can, and maybe not going with the quickest fix, quickest route, but making sure that you're looking for those deals at the grocery store. And then there are a lot of communities in our area that don't have access to a grocery store, or if it is a grocery store, maybe it's small and the prices are higher. And then there's the gas that it takes to get to the store. So we do see higher obesity rates in some of those rural areas that don't have access to a grocery store. So
it's not just urban areas that see it, it can be rural areas because of the things you mentioned, just getting to a place where you have access to those healthy foods. Let's talk a little bit about the long-term health effects. If kids are overweight at a younger age, what kinds of things can they see affect them as they get into adolescence and adulthood?
Right. Well, we're seeing that, as kids get older, that the obesity rate is going up. So, the adult obesity rate in Illinois alone is about 64%. So we're going from 1/3, to 64%. That's a huge jump. And so it's important that we take action, and especially in kids. We're seeing some progress in the preschool age, seeing some progress in that school age is going to be very valuable because we're seeing those things linked to adulthood obesity, chronic diseases, like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, some types of cancers are linked to those things, becoming less, physically fit, loss of muscle mass and bone mass, those kinds of things, if we're not physically fit as kids.
Okay. You probably hear in the line of work that you do certain roadblocks or challenges for, let's start with families to, eat healthy, what are some of those things that you hear?
Well, a lot of it's time. I don't have time to make a meal. I don't have time to go to the grocery. So it's a lot faster to go through that drive-through on the way to soccer practice or a game or whatever it is. And so that, can be a challenge, especially if you are kind of locked into that routine.
Right.
And so I think it's important to, take some time to research what you can do to make those choices a little bit easier for your family. One thing that we do at our house is if we have the grill out, we grill 2 or 3 different kinds of meat, and then through the week all we have to do is throw vegetables with it. Or if we're cooking ground beef, we make a big amount of that, and then we use it for spaghetti and for tacos and other kinds of meals. So there's ways that you can make your meals quicker and still eat healthy. Studies show that families that eat together on a regular basis, that the kids are healthier. They make healthier choices. They're more apt to try new things. And then even later in life, they make better choices regarding alcohol and risky behaviors. So it's so important to have that family meal time.
So what about some of the challenges for families and kids to stay active and make fitness a part of their life?
Yes, again, the busyness. Just as we schedule other things in our calendar and make time for our priorities, we need to make sure that we're making fitness a priority and leading by example. And so even if it's writing on the calendar, 10 minutes of exercise right before supper or after supper, going on that family walk, and a lot of us think that we have to pay or that things have to cost extra money. And if we don't have a lot of extra money, to join a fitness club or to join a kind of sport, but there's things you can do, just riding your bike, walking around your neighborhood. We should not have to feel like we have to put a price on those
That's
kinds
what I
of
was
things.
going to ask. Let's talk about some ideas of some activities, physical activities that families can do together that, like you said, doesn't involve purchasing a membership at a fitness club.
Right. Well, we're so blessed in our area to have Fox Ridge and then Douglas Hart Nature Center and those places that are free for kids to go and enjoy nature, get outside. It's just valuable to get outside, get some fresh air and sunshine. And so making sure that we make that a part of our activity time is important as well. Getting outside and throwing the ball around or frisbee around. We've seen that kids even are, not as able to jump rope and do things that maybe we did whenever we were kids. And so, jump rope can cost $1, sidewalk chalk, anything to get your kids outside, away from that screen time. And just thinking that, again, those things don't have to cost. You can look for things in the community that are free and take advantage of those things.
We've got great parks in so many of our communities. We've got lots of great outdoor spaces here.
Yes, we really do. And a lot of those I've noticed have been redone this year. So
as we're in summertime, kids are at home. They don't have that structured phy ed time that they had when they were in school. So what can how can you work that back into their schedule? I mean, maybe it is 10 o'clock, time for FIAT at home.
Right.
But they go from this kind of structured activity to nothing.
Right. And it is important and valuable for kids to have a little downtime, in the summer. That's important as well. But making sure that there's still some household rules about what we eat and, staying active, TV time, those key factors that you want to make sure. So maybe there, in your cupboard, there's a anytime kind of snacks, or out on the table, anytime you can get these grapes or, fresh fruits, vegetables, those kinds of things. But if you want something off of the other shelf, you need to ask first to make sure that, that you've had your fruits and vegetables for the day. Or, if it's 2 hours is our limit for screen time, is a healthy amount for kids. So making sure after that 2 hours is up that your kids are doing other things, even things to exercise their brain, even puzzles or games, reading, yes, those kinds of things. A lot of our libraries in our area have great summer reading programs, and they're free for kids. And so taking advantage of those kinds of things, adding those into their daily routine, even if it's making up kind of a type of a schedule where the kids know that, okay, at 10 o'clock I've got the TV off and I need to be, outside riding my bike or doing something else.
You've touched on it. I want you to just to review for our viewers, how many minutes a day is recommended activity? I mean, we know as adults, they recommend, X amount of minutes per day,
right.
5 days a week, 6 days a week. Seems to change a lot, but what is the recommended time for kids?
Sure, 60 minutes is what we want to see every day. Kids get active for 60 minutes. And that includes, we want some strength, some kind of flexibility and making sure that they are doing some kind of aerobic activity, get their heart pumping. I tell kids, even if it's playing tag, it doesn't have to be going for a run. They need to realize that playing can be exercise and fun.
It's not as formal as what,
right.
we
Push-ups,
do as adults.
sit-ups, right.
Yeah, so 60 minutes a day. And screen time, what's the national recommendation for screen time?
2 hours or less is what we want to see. So it even helps to break that up over the day so that they kind of maybe see that as a reward later on in the day. If they complete if they have some exercise in the day, then maybe they get 30 minutes and kind of work that as a reward.
And when you're talking screen time, it's also mobile device,
yes,
other device. It's not just the television.
Right, that's right.
We only had the TV when we were growing up.
Right.
So let's move into foods, because you can, as an adult, we know you can exercise all you want, but if your diet is terrible, it's kind of counterproductive.
Right.
So what are some of the things healthy foods that you recommend families kind of have in their pantry?
Well, I think, the fresh fruits and vegetables are so important, and that we've seen that decrease over the years for kids, that most kids are not getting any, or 1 or 2 maybe servings a day. And so what the goal is 5 servings a day of fruits and vegetables. And so I think keeping those accessible, on our counter, we have a big bowl of fresh fruits and vegetables that is an anytime kind of food. So if my kids are hungry, that's where they need to go to first. And then keeping some things maybe bagged up. So if you do have those games this summer where you are really busy, keeping some grapes, carrots in a baggie so that you can just take those and go, that would be a great option as well. And then if you are going to have snacky type foods, maybe portioning those out separately. As soon as you buy the bag of pretzels or Cheez-Its or whatever it might be, putting those in a bag for the serving size, right. and helping your kids do that with you so that they can see what the amount is. And they might be surprised. You can get a lot of goldfish, for the portion size, and putting those in a baggie rather than just taking the whole bag whenever you're
I think
hungry.
that's always surprising when you actually look at the back of the package, and sometimes those packages are 3 servings, not 1.
Right. And helping our kids read the label is important, because I know, I think adults are finally starting to catch on to that and seeing that, okay, you're right, it is 3 servings, and so if I want, the proper portion size, maybe I just need 1 of those. And helping your kids to do that as well, so that they can start recognizing healthy foods and recognizing how much is a proper portion. That's important too.
Are you surprised when you're out, working with kids, that they're not aware of what healthy foods are or what serving sizes are? Are you surprised that that's new information for them?
Well, I probably was at first. Now it doesn't really catch me off guard, but I love to watch them learn those things. And when they turn the package over and then their eyes get big and they see, how much sugar is in this cereal? I had no idea. And I love then to show them some healthier options that taste just as good, because they tend to go home and share that with their family. I had one mom say, I went to the grocery, I couldn't find the cereal that you had recommended because so many kids are buying that. And so we, sometimes take for granted that our kids will try healthier foods. We don't realize that they really will. We think this is the only thing that they're going to eat. But if we give them some healthy options, I found that kids really want to be healthy. It makes them empowered. It makes them feel good about themselves to make healthy choices. And so if we give those options, even if all 3 choices we give them are healthy, but they're still making that choice, it gives them some empowerment.
And to develop those tastes for healthy foods helps them later in life.
That's right. And this year I got the opportunity to work with some high school students, and they drink a lot of sugary drinks, eat a lot of sugary foods. And so I shared with them that whenever you take yourself off of that high sugar intake, that things start to taste sweeter to you. So maybe you didn't think fruits tasted sweet, but after you stop drinking so much soda and you stop eating all those sugary foods, then you start to realize the natural, sweeteners that are in foods that we eat every day that maybe you didn't notice.
It's right. It's almost like that sugar dulls your senses for what really is sugary, because I put sugar in my coffee every day, and then I did some math, and that was a lot of sugar.
Adding up. Yeah.
It was adding up. It's hard. It's not as tasty, but yes, and there is something about, I think, that sugar makes you want more sugar. Yes. I didn't believe that until I kind of cut some of that out.
Right. You're right. And so if kids start their day out with sugary breakfast, then all day long they're going to be craving more and more and more sugar and those refined grains. And so stocking your cupboards with whole grains is going to keep them a lot fuller. So if you're shopping for healthy cereal, you want to look for 10 grams or less of sugar, at least 3 grams of fiber, and then that first ingredient, whole grain. So a lot of times we're sending our kids off to school with nothing to keep them full. And so they're thinking about food instead of thinking about math or spelling. And so setting them up for success is so important, especially for that school day. And then I tell them, keep those sugary cereals, call those Saturday cereals. When you don't have to use your brain as much, then use it's okay to have those sugary cereals every now and then, or Pop-Tart or something like that, but keep those for the weekend and make sure that through the week when you are needing to focus and pay attention, keep those low sugar cereals for those days.
So are there some, in your house, you'd kind of mentioned fruits and vegetables, are there some sort of like go-to foods or power foods that you think these are really good things to have that sort of cover a lot of bases that you look for and that you have in your house that you'd recommend?
Yes, absolutely. We, cheese sticks, especially the low, fat string cheese, those are easy to grab. They're single servings, and we get to throw them in our lunchbox a lot of times because we've also seen that calcium intake, decrease, which is something you can't fix as an adult.
Right.
And so we see, kids, when they stop growing, their bone mass then starts decreasing. And so making sure that we are giving them those servings of dairy every day. So we do a lot of cheese sticks at our house. And then we love yogurt parfaits. So you get 3 food groups, in one. You can throw some fruit in there. We love berries in ours. And then we usually have vanilla yogurt and then some granola on top. And so you've got your grain and your fruit and your dairy all in one. So, my kids are super busy. I have 3 kids, all involved in lots of activities. And so I've learned to try to figure out what kinds of things that we can take, grab and go that are healthy, throw in the ball bag, some trail mix, things like that, some kind of nuts or, peanut butter that will keep them a little bit fuller longer. Is important because I have a son that's growing, seems to always be hungry, and so I like to have
there's
things.
A lot of moms out there.
Yes,
who
feel the same way. But I try to make sure, especially for him, that I have things that will satisfy him between games or on the way to a game if we didn't have time for supper yet. So some of those kinds of things. And I also always have some healthy cereals because he loves to have that for a snack. So after school, he can come home and have some, cereal, and that's going to keep him full until supper time as well.
Do you find that boys are much more hungry than girls?
Well, mine is. I know that for sure. And he is one that, is in go mode until he goes to bed. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. How active a child is also going to determine how much energy they need to put in their body. So I have 2 girls, as well, and I can see that with their activity level that that seems to make, how hungry they are. It really affects that.
Well, and I would think parents need to also, when you're talking about food and kids' activity level, if they're in all these traveling sports teams and all that, they need the right kind of fuel to be able to perform in those sports.
Right. And talking to kids, finding what they are interested in. I have one daughter that loves to learn. And so all it took was her learning what soda was going to do to her body. She doesn't ever drink it anymore. And then, if I talk to my son about sports, these are going to give you energy. They're going to make you faster. They're going to make you stronger. They're going to make, compared to somebody who's eating a lot of fast food and unhealthy food, you're going to have the edge because you are eating healthy. You're drinking healthy things. So finding what really makes them tick. And then I have one that's just a pleaser. Whatever I say, she's going to do.
Everyone wishes they had one like that.
Exactly. So I think finding whatever motivates your child and using that to their advantage and talking their language is going to help them to make those healthy choices.
So we've noticed, in communities here in the Charleston, Mattoon area, probably communities all over the country, people getting together to really promote and help kids get fit. Are you seeing that that's maybe part of why we're seeing maybe a little bit of shift and change?
I do. I think, the message is out there now that we've got to help our kids. We're seeing, our department at Sarah Bush Lincoln was created because we saw that most of our patients are there for preventable diseases. We don't want to see our kids go down that same path.
Sure.
And so I've seen lots of agencies, lots of folks in the community get on board with that message. And they are creating their own programs, and they're making sure that they have opportunities for kids that aren't expensive for them to be able to do over the summer. There's lots of if your child likes to run or walk, there's lots of the 5Ks and 1 mile fun runs that they can be involved in all over the, all throughout the summer. There's, programs through the Charleston Rec Department, the YMCA. Everybody's really getting on board, and it's really exciting to see that. And everybody's always ready to come to the table and say, what can we do? How can we work together?
So it's a good thing that we finally, see a problem, trying to do something about it to help our kids.
Absolutely.
Well, Sarah, thanks so much for coming back to Being Well. I had told her she was actually part of our first season, which was a couple years ago. So it's great to have you back on the show again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Sunshine and soda, garnished with a lime. 2 delights of summer. But for some people, that delicious combo can cause a reaction on your skin you might mistake for bruises or poison ivy. It's called a phototoxic reaction, and it happens when you touch certain plants and are then exposed to sunlight. Vivian Williams has the story from Mayo Clinic.
I just have always grown up around water, and I love to swim.
But last year during spring break, lifeguard Allie Behrens developed a strange, long, red mark on her leg after a dip in the ocean.
But then it started to get really red and blistered.
She thought maybe it was a jellyfish sting. Mayo Clinic Dr. Dawn Davis told Allie, yes, it was a sting, but from a plant and the sun, not a jellyfish.
So I was kind of disappointed, because jellyfish sounds cooler.
There are certain plants and fruits in nature, such as dill, buttercup, bergamot, muskambret, parsley, parsnip, and citrus fruits, especially lime, that when these chemicals that they contain hit your skin and then it's exposed to ultraviolet light, a chemical reaction occurs, and you can either develop a dermatitis, which is called phytophotodermatitis, plant light induced eczema, or you can develop a phototoxic dermatitis, meaning plant sunburn dermatitis.
Typical scenarios would be when you brush up against certain plants on a hike, or when you squeeze a lime into a drink. Maybe you get some juice on your hands, you touch your arm, and when the sun hits that spot, the dermatitis appears in the form of handprints or drips.
A lot of people think that it's poison ivy. with the lines and the streaks, but it's indeed not. It's a phytophotodermatitis.
Treatment includes topical ointment and staying out of the sun.
It's right here on my leg.
Allie says her reaction was a bit painful, but over time, it's fading away. For Medical Edge, I'm Vivian Williams.
Production of Being Well is made possible in part by Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System, supporting healthy lifestyles, eating a heart-healthy diet, staying active, managing stress, and regular checkups are ways of reducing your health risks. Proper health is important to all at Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System. Information available at sarahbush.org. Additional funding by Jazzercise of Charleston. Being Well is also available online at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WEIUTV. Just look for the Being Well playlist. Here you can view current as well as past episodes.